My twin daughters are both 18 and took the SAT last month. The results came back yesterday. One of my daughters, Laura, did very well. She got a 1540 and is very proud, as she should be. Her sister Emily didn't do so well. She got somewhere in the low 1300s, and I know that this is still not a bad score at all, but she worked hard for the test and was disappointed with her score. She's always struggled more with schoolwork than her sister, who does better without having to try quite as hard. Not to minimize her effort, Laura also works hard, but it does come a bit easier for her. My mother-in-law has always favored Laura because she does better in school. She won't show it very obviously, but in little ways. For example, she makes them a birthday cake most years and always writes Laura's name bigger and first. Emily resents this a bit, but doesn't mind too much, as they rarely see their grandma. Only Laura regularly video calls her with my husband. My mother-in-law called yesterday to ask the girls how they did. Emily said she didn't want to talk to her. She told me, not my mother-in-law, so I only gave the phone to Laura. Laura said her score and her grandmother congratulated her excitedly. My mother-in-law then asked Laura how Emily did. Laura said Emily did all right. When I got the phone back, my mother-in-law asked if she could visit tomorrow and congratulate Laura. I said, let me check quickly if anything else is happening tomorrow. And I asked Emily if her grandma could come over to celebrate their results. Emily said that was fine, so I told my mother-in-law she could come. My husband was at work when she came over. She brought a box of cookies and gave it to Laura, saying she was proud. Emily was standing there too and looked hurt. I asked if she brought anything for Emily. She laughed a little and said, not this time, but she'll make even better cookies when Emily does her resit. No one told her that she was resitting. My mother-in-law just assumed. Emily went upstairs and I think she was crying, so I told my mother-in-law sharply that she could take her cookies and get out. She was shocked and angry, but she left. Laura's also upset because she says she earned it, and I'm ruining her relationship with her grandma. My husband says I had no right. Am I the idiot? You stood up for Emily against her cruel grandmother. Laura's angry because she demands her golden child status. Both grandmother and Laura told Emily, loud and clear, that she's not good enough. But you are the idiot because you've been silent all these years, letting your mother-in-law diminish and degrade Emily. She spent her entire life knowing, not thinking, knowing that she's less than her sister. At this point, you can't undo this. No matter what she accomplishes, she will always feel less than. Both you and your husband are solely responsible for this. It's not about what her grandmother did to her. It's about what her parents allowed her grandmother to do to her. Being mistreated is painful. Being mistreated while your parents sit silently by is devastating. She won't show it very obviously, but in little ways, I beg to differ. The woman displays her favoritism very clearly. Mother-in-law showing up with a cake in the past, obviously focused on Laura, is awful. I'd grab a knife and get rid of the names altogether. If she balks, tell her that the next time it goes in the trash. She's no longer allowed to bring anything into your house without first inspecting it for favoritism. Anything unequal will be confiscated by you and disposed of however you see fit. The grandma's coaching Laura into thinking she's special and entitled. Agreed. Emily needs all her family on her side right now. This situation where her father and her sister find it normal for her to be mistreated can't go on. OP, sit Laura down and ask why she's so anxious for her grandmother's love that she would treat her sister badly. Say it just that way. Ask what exactly her grandmother's done and why she doesn't do anything for Emily. This is not the time to be subtle with your husband or Laura. You have to shut this down now. Also, your mother-in-law is 100% the idiot. Clearly, both of your children are good at studying. Low 1300s is empirically a great SAT score. Emily might have to put in more effort, but it would be crazy to see that as a failure of hers. It's a precious quality to be so hardworking. If your mother-in-law cared about academics, she'd be so proud that both her grandchildren are doing so well, and it doesn't matter if one scores better. But she doesn't do that. Instead, she enjoys breeding chaos in your little family by putting Emily down every time. I had a friend in my early 20s, Melinda. She was always odd, but we remained friends for a while. We were bridesmaids at each other's wedding. We grew apart over the next decades as our lives took different turns. We did stay in contact via the odd text and Facebook post. She attended my virtual baby shower back in 2021. Recently, Melinda had a baby girl, announcing her name was Amelia, but they referred to her as Mia. I found this odd as my name is Mia. I felt like she was naming her child after me, and we didn't feel close enough for that. Plus, she didn't even ask. I said something to a mutual friend of ours who told me they also found it odd. I didn't say anything at first. Then I saw Melinda with her husband and the baby at another friend's party. She showed me the baby and I half joked, "Yeah, my namesake." She gave me an odd look and I said, "Her name is Mia? I'm Mia." Melinda said her name was Amelia and Mia was a nickname, while my full name was just Mia. I said I understood, but she still had to have named her after me, saying it was odd but cute. Melinda got a weird look on her face and said, "No, we named her after my husband's mother." I nodded and she was clearly annoyed. She asked why I assumed she named her baby after me. I said it was just a weird coincidence and seemed like something she would do. Melinda said, "You're not important enough for me to name a baby after." I told her that was rude, and she said, "So is trying to imply she's odd because her baby and I have the same name." Our mutual friends feel I shouldn't have brought it up at all. Some feel that in spite of that, she took it too far by saying I'm not important enough. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Why do so many people think that they have some kind of weird ownership over names? You're not the only Mia. Mia isn't even that unusual of a name. It's currently the 8th most common name for a baby girl. Spoiler, if a friend picked a name because of you, they'd tell you. That she didn't, and that you've grown apart, should indicate that it had nothing to do with you. I named a cat Mia back in 2000. I think OP was probably named after my cat, since she seems to be about the right age, based on her behavior. The world does not revolve around you. Why are you upset that she thinks you're not important enough in her life to name a baby after you, when you also think that? You noted that you're not close enough to each other for that, so you should be glad that she confirmed she feels the same way. Exactly. Even after being told the child was named after her paternal grandmother or great-grandmother, OP still thought she was factored into the naming decision. Melinda couldn't have been more clear that OP wasn't even a consideration at all in the naming, especially as it's only the child's nickname that matches OP. And yet OP still thinks it's weird and that she was a factor in the naming. Honey, your ego must be huge, and hopefully this brought it down a little. The secondhand embarrassment is real here. My fiance, Lyric, and I have been together for 5 years now, and I proposed to her recently. Her family was super happy for us, but mine was less so. My siblings were fine, though they all think I'm too young to get engaged. I'm 23. My parents are where the problem arises. They were always a little surprised that my fiance's name was Lyric. When they first met her, they asked her what her real name was. They dropped it, but I could tell there was a "what the heck" going on in their heads. I told them that they had such a strong reaction. They said they'd never met someone with the name before. I pointed out that they had, just one person, but still, they were never outright rude to her though, so I kept an eye on things between them. She didn't feel like they were weird with her or rude, and I checked in with her when they were around my family, just to be sure. It was when we announced the engagement that my parents told me I couldn't possibly marry someone named Lyric, and what would people think about me being married to one of those people who was given a ridiculous name by her parents, who chose to keep it as an adult instead of changing it to an actual name, versus something her parents decided would make her cool and stand out. They said that this is the real world, and people named Lyric, Ryder, Jaden, Sky, Meadow, Rosie, Indy, Katniss, Khaleesi, Brinley, Honey, etc. are the kind of people who get passed up for jobs and mocked behind their backs and pitied for sticking with something their parents saddled them with. They told me they did not want me to marry someone named Lyric, and I could find a respectable person who was not white trailer trash and out to be an embarrassment to herself by proudly holding on to a name like Lyric. I told my parents they were wrong to say that, and I would not let them just insult Lyric like that without consequence. They said it's her parents they feel more disgusted by, but clearly, she's been a bad influence. And what about my future kids with Lyric? Are they supposed to accept having a little apple zoo in Ireland running around? They said they couldn't honestly accept a Lyric into the family. I told them they were being so judgmental and harsh on Lyric and her parents, and the parents who use names they don't like in general when they're the people who create problems in the first place. I said it was disgusting that they were being so awful about this, and to imply that Lyric isn't good enough because of her name shows how nasty and judgmental they are. I told them they should look at themselves before judging others like that. I told them it was them I was embarrassed by, not Lyric. I also told them not to worry about welcoming Lyric into the family because we wouldn't want to be a part of their family. I walked away from them at that point and I blocked them. They got to my siblings, who said I should have never insulted our parents and I should be grown enough to handle an argument better. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your parents don't like someone because of their name? Good Lord. They sound awful. And you didn't insult your parents. You told your parents that their behavior was garbage. You were a ton nicer than I would have been. And Lyric is an absolutely beautiful name. Nobody who is happy in their own life acts like this. Nobody. Keep no contact for as long as possible. And your siblings are not too much better. You don't have to accept verbal abuse from your parents because family. No way. That's some BS. Come on, this isn't about the name. That trailer trash comment says it all. It's a class issue. I doubt they would have the same issues with an eccentric millionaire's daughter. The only thing embarrassing is their judgmental, close-minded superiority complex and the fact that they're judging the poor girl's whole existence on her name. Shame on them. Wow, just wow. I've heard some stupid names in my life, but I've never passed someone over based on a name. And if they're willing to cut off ties with their son because they don't like the name of his soon-to-be wife, then wow. That's beyond any rational, ethical, moral, logical, add other all here, reasoning. You were right to disown them for making a ridiculous statement about someone you're marrying. I'm going to keep this backstory really short since it's complicated and confusing. My daughter-in-law, Sarah, is close to my daughter's kids, a toddler and a preschooler. My daughter, Maddie, lost custody, and I have custody now. My son isn't around much due to his job and can be away for months. There are respectable jobs and not respectable jobs. My daughter-in-law doesn't have a respectable job. She works at a call center trying to scam people. According to her, she's looking for a new job, but has been saying that for a year. This is the first time she asked to see the kids. I told her I wouldn't allow her to be near them until she got a respectable job, that her morals suck, and I've told her before to get a respectable job. They're young children and I don't want them around her. This started an argument with her calling me a jerk for keeping the kids away from her. My son is on my butt about it. Since I wasn't clear enough, Sarah stole people's bank info. I've reported it and it keeps popping back up. They try to get people's bank info by pretending there's a virus they need to fix and gaining access to their computers. It's messed up. My daughter Maddie did nothing wrong and doesn't have custody because she's injured and can't take care of them. I thought you were overreacting, to be honest, but this is illegal, not the idiot. Sarah's a trash human. I don't know how those scammers can sleep at night. I wouldn't let anyone try to scam people near my kids either. That type of person with those morals will never be near my kids. Same with people who are discriminators. These types of morals are to be nowhere near my kids. You are the idiot. Holy cow, that's so judgmental. I used to work at a call center where people would give their bank info too. Does that mean I was scamming them too? Maybe your daughter-in-law is scamming people. Maybe she isn't. Either way, the people who give their bank info ultimately choose to give their info. And I assume the customers are adults, so it's incredibly unfair for you to hold your daughter-in-law solely accountable for that. It's a job, and not everyone can afford to move on to another job. I disagree. There are call centers, and then there are call centers. Being an annoying telemarketer selling things people don't need is one thing. That's scummy, but it's capitalism. You do what you gotta do. But engaging in fraud to drain someone's bank account is well beyond that. I was prepared to say you are the idiot because people are often a lot more than just the work they do. But taking part in an activity that actively involves defrauding people crosses a line for me. Sure, there are innocent people tricked into this profession, but many who voluntarily choose this job. The latter's responsible for many lives destroyed. You know who their victims are? Struggling innocent people, older adults, all their savings and retirements gone in seconds. Protecting the kids should be your top priority, and understandably, you don't want them around someone with questionable morals. Your son should understand and respect your decision. For some context, I work part-time and make around $2,000 a month since the rest of my expenses are taken care of, and I want some spending money that no one else can tell me what to do with. So about a year ago, a girl I hooked up with a couple of times got pregnant, and she decided to keep the kid, even though I wanted her to do otherwise. But it is what it is. When we went to court to get custody, I decided to give up full custody because I wasn't ready to be a dad so early on, and I got ordered to pay $400 a month of child support. I've paid the money on time every month. So recently, she asked me to go find a better job so that I could help support the kid more. And I told her I had no reason to get a better job since I already have everything I want and don't feel like getting a more difficult job so that I can help her out. She yelled at me for being a crappy father, which is fair, but I never wanted to be a father in general, and she's the one who wanted to keep the kid. So I don't think I should have to give up my lifestyle just to help with a kid I didn't want. Edit. My dad owns the building I live in, and I have a credit card that he pays off, the $1,600. My salary is purely fund money, so I don't have to let him know about my sketchier purchases. Also, I'm currently getting my master's. You earn $2K. Dad gives you $1.6K. That's $3.6K of effective income. The court could, and probably would, recalculate child support based on the $3.6K of monthly income if the court was aware of the situation. Since you pay $400 on a reported $2K of income, that is 20% of income. Figure that with the $3.6K of effective income, you should be paying $720 child support now, even without a better job. Child support obligations are not dependent on whether or not you want to be a parent to the child. Dude, you are the idiot. It's rather ironic that you're avoiding paying for your kid by your father paying for you. I have no sympathy for men like this. Grow the heck up. Get a vasectomy with daddy's money so you don't keep impregnating women. Maybe an unpopular thing to say when you're female, but it was her singular decision to keep the baby, so this baby is now her singular responsibility. As long as you use protection and were open about your position of not willing to have kids, I'm at a loss to understand how the judge could make you pay anything at all. But oh well, you're certainly not the idiot. I do feel genuinely sorry for the kid, but it's not the OP's fault. More like the mother of the child was hoping to press the OP into creating a family and miscalculated the influence. How the judge could make you pay anything at all? But oh well? Because the kid is his. I'm sorry, but why shouldn't the judge make him pay? He made the conscious decision to have intimacy, knowing a baby could be born out of it. A woman gets the final say in childbirth because the pregnancy affects her health, sometimes long-term, or death. How long is daddy willing to pay for your expenses? For the next 18 years? You only gave up custody and not your paternal rights. As soon as you get a real job, the payments will be adjusted. So unless you're going to get paid under the table or be unemployed, you will still owe child support. And at some point, the child might come looking for you. Better work on what you'll say to them.